From the OG Living Studios in sunny South Florida via Nashville, Tennessee. Heard all over the world on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your streaming content. It's the Nashville Hype with your host, Paul King.
Hey everyone, it's Paul with the Nashville Hype. My special guest this week is Jeff McCool of Moccasin Creek. Let's get right to it. It's September 10th when we're recording this. This is National Suicide Month, and today is the end of National Suicide Week, essentially. But suicide affects everyone throughout the year. And one of the most impressive songs that you've ever released, it's the most raw that I've probably ever heard, is the Last Letter song. And you started this by saying, suicide takes the lives of nearly 40,000 Americans every year. Many who attempt suicide never seek professional care. For young people 15 to 24 years old, suicide is the second leading cause of death. So tell me about how that song came about.
Well, unfortunately, I had to experience it to write that. First and foremost, I appreciate the comment on the rawness, because that was well before I knew how to mix or do anything. And I listened back to it. I'm like, man, the quality of this is terrible, but I think it's the message that mattered. And, unfortunately, man, with it being, 8 or 9 years ago, that number has increased drastically since then. And, I've been a big proponent for mental health awareness for a long, long time. And, even though September is Suicide Awareness Month and we've got the week, it is a daily thing. And, that is the toughest thing, especially for men. And I'm not saying this to be chauvinistic in any way. It's just that, we've got this exterior that we put on, this tough guy talking, and especially with me having an athletic background and, playing sports, this, that, and other. So many guys look at it as an embarrassment,
right? Like it's a weakness of some kind, and it's not.
It's a weakness. It's not, absolutely. And the more I've been through it, the more people that I've talked to over the years, the more people I've been around from every facet of life, I've realized that it's much more common than we think. Not necessarily suicidal thoughts or whatnot, but the depression, the way people handle adversity, the way the pressure they put on themselves, the self-deprecation, all these different things that can amount to, the stress involved to get somebody in that thought pattern. It's a really, really finicky, tough subject to tackle. A lot of people are scared to talk about it freely. And, I think I wrote that because I was back in that state of mind, and that was the only way that I could get out of it, to let people know. And that was actually, to me, looking back and thinking about it, I think that was a way for me to have people tell me, hey, man, go get some help, because it's hard to do it on your own sometimes. It's extremely hard for somebody on the outside looking in to feel comfortable enough to tell you, hey, man, you can talk to me about anything, but I can tell something's off. Maybe you need to talk to somebody. So I don't know. I think there was a mixture of me just wanting to get that story out and let people know that it could be anybody. At the same time, I was looking for possibly some help,
Yeah. Has the song helped you as you go back and remember that song through your journey?
What's crazy? I think the events do. I don't think, honestly, Paul, I don't think I've listened to that song more than 4 times completely front to back.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with the story, because I know the story so well. I lived it. I think it has to do, honestly, and this is the perfectionist in me, I think. It has to do with the quality of the recording.
Oh, right.
The song, it's like, it's one of those things, like when you go back and listen to old music, it's humbling to see where you've come in a decade of time. And I think that only thing with that is like, man, God, I wish I knew how to make this sound better. More people would have listened. But at the same time, the amount of letters and emails and calls that I've gotten that, that it's helped somebody or somebody, it's overwhelming. And it was shocking,
Right.
And,
well, I love the sound quality of it, and me personally, because it is so raw. the quality of it doesn't matter in the sense that the message comes through loud and clear, and the message itself is a good one. And since we're talking about it, we need to just tell if anybody's having any kind of problems or anything like that, suicidal thoughts or depression or things of that nature, call or text 988. That's what you need to do. And if you have a friend that's going through something that just can't share with you what's going on in their life, make sure that they call or text 988. And it doesn't matter that September is coming to an end soon. This is a yearly thing, and people need to know that 988 is who they can get some help from. So,
yep, absolutely. And I'd be remiss if I didn't. I'm a big proponent and a big advocate and a spokesperson for BetterHelp.com. It's a great way to get on and talk to a licensed certified therapist anywhere in the country at any time. We go back to people with the embarrassment and not knowing. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're not comfortable going and sitting in front of somebody face to face, you can text with the therapist until you get a rapport, or you can FaceTime, you can call, you can do whatever. And I've used it for nearly 7 years now, and it's really, really helped me through a lot of situations. And it like you said, it's a daily thing. It's not necessarily just a month of awareness. We need to be more vocal about it.
Yeah. So betterhealth.org.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is an important subject for me as well, because my mother, she suffered my whole life with bipolar. And so she had multiple incidents of attempted suicide. And, she actually went running down the road one time with a gun in her hand. And my brother ran and tackled her. And the only thing that she got out of that experience was she skinned up her knees. And so it took 20 years or so for her to forgive him for skinning up her knees by being tackled. Now, he got the gun away from her hand, the whole 9 yards. But that's one of my life's stories. And so, it's just an important thing to be talking about. And I just wanted to do it early so that people who have already clicked out, now we can move on to some of the more fun things or you know what I mean? So I appreciate that song though. I really did. When I first heard that song, I was like, wow, that's going to touch a lot of lives and it's going to help a lot of people. So let's talk about songwriting. Now, first of all, do you feel like that you are more of an entertainer or a businessman?
Oh, I would like to say businessman, because I've gotten to a point where, I work my tail off to be able to do something that I love full time and for it to allow me a comfortable life. But if you ask my family and friends, they're going to tell you he's wanted the spotlight and he's been the jovial party in the room for all his life. I'm going to have to go with entertainment. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Paul. It's like, I've struggled with getting off the road for years and years and years. It was killing my body. There were things I didn't like about it. It was very hard for me with the mental side of things. But nothing takes, I miss the performance side, the entertaining side of it every day. I do. So I love to entertain.
Have you stopped touring? Have you stopped doing shows completely, or?
Yeah, man. I haven't done a live show since our last cruise the week before COVID started.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing is I had taken off the 2 years, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, but, Daphne and I went through a divorce, and fortunately we're great friends. We're better friends. We get along way better now than we did when we were so after a year of going through our stuff and trying to figure our routes out and whatnot, I called her, I think last August, and I was like, what do you think about booking one final tour, the final ride of Moccasin Creek, so that we can get everything, so I could tell everybody thank you for what y'all give me. I love to entertain. And literally, it took her about 2 weeks, and we had 45 shows.
Holy smokes!
It just blew up because everybody knew it was coming. We're gearing up. I'm getting the band together, this, that, and other. And all of a sudden, right around Thanksgiving, I woke up. I had these issues in my back and my stomach and my neck, all this crazy stuff that was happening. I spent the last 7 months in and out of the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville trying to figure it out, back and forth. And finally, after every test, every surgery, everything you could find out, I've got I had Bell's palsy a few years back. So we went and did this extensive nerve study, and I've got a ninth cranial nerve disorder on top of freaking fibromyalgia, man. So
man.
Yeah, I had no clue, and it had gotten so debilitating that I couldn't move. Like for almost 4 months, I was couch ridden. I just spent the last year and a half busting my tail to lose 100 pounds, get back in shape, to do all this so I could get out on the road, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, we had to cancel this.
Yeah.
And to tell you that the tour will never happen, I can't say that, because I'm finally back to where I'm moving around again. I'm not having the pains. I start back Monday in the gym, getting back into a groove, and we're going to see how it goes. And if I have 3 to 4 months of no issues, we'll try to put the band back together possibly and do that one more time. But yeah, man, I haven't done a Moccasin Creek full band show in almost 3 years now.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, the business side of it, how many albums have you actually released? Do you have any idea?
I think I've got 10 Moccasin Creek projects, a solo project, a project with Big Chuck, and man, dude, I don't know.
So, well, it's funny that you even say that, because the reason I ask is how many, the business side again, how many songs, if you've had 10 Moccasin Creek, there are at least 10 songs per album. That's 300 songs. And I'm assuming.
Yeah, I do know that I have over 400 in my ASCAP catalog.
Oh, okay.
That have been published. I do know that. Now, as far as songs, there's probably 1,000 in the studio combined, but I know that I have 412 in ASCAP.
That's crazy.
Something along those lines. And man, what's crazy is from the week that COVID started, we were out on a cruise and we came back into port and the world had changed.
Oh, right.
From that whole year and then going through Dabney and I's thing, man, I didn't put out a single for almost 19 months.
Yeah.
And I was one of those that I'd drop an album every year and a couple singles every year and a few, and I really missed it. But at the same time, it was giving me a lot of peace of mind to step away and take care of my health and my body first. And that was, I'd gotten up to over 400 pounds, man. And I was walking around at 250, 260 all my life, and I'm down to 299 now. So
nice. Nice.
I still got another 30 or 40 to go. And this whole fibromyalgia back and neck issue, sidelined me for 6 months, and it really started messing with me again mentally. I was like, I can't do anything.
Right.
So it's been a whirlwind of craziness and hecticness for the last for the last 3 years. But this past year, teaming up with Hard Target and some of my other buddies and getting me back motivated again and getting in some writing sessions and doing that, man, I'm actually en route as we speak to shoot another music video. Dropped a music video 3 months ago, Take Me Home, and it's the fastest I've ever had hit it's actually at 1.9 million in 3 months on YouTube. So I'm getting back into the algorithm, getting back into being, prevalent again. And we were talking yesterday, I've got 5 videos already shot. Shooting another one today, and over the next year should have a video drop every month.
Oh, nice. What is your process of doing and writing a song? Do you stand in front of a microphone, you hear the beat, or do you actually put pen to paper and actually a pad and just write it out?
I'm old school guy when it comes to writing a hook. I like to take an idea and I'll listen to beats and music and instrumentals to see if it fits. And then I like to write the chorus out on a pad with a pencil and everything. Old school pen and pad. When it comes to the verse, man, the verse and telling the story has always kind of been the easy part for me. And I will literally, and I learned this from Hard Target. He taught me a lot about recording it and I'll sit in front of the microphone and just punch in each line, and I'll go back and listen to it and then re-record it. It's started doing that a few years back, and I think that gives you you're not thinking too much when you're writing when you're writing the story part of the song, or you're writing the verse of the song. It's a lot easier to whatever's off the top of your mind. It makes it more raw, more impromptu, instead of, I used to write a line and I'd dissect it and think back, and then I'd make it too complicated sometimes on the punch line, or I'd wait. It was just too much. So
right.
Yeah, I like to sit down with the pen and pad when it comes to the writing of the chorus part. When I write the hook, that's the way I do it. And as far as the verses, I mean that it all depends on the song. If it's more hip hop, I may write a few punch lines and bars here and there, but if it's a storytelling song, I like to just sit there and do it. Do
you think do you think that with 412 in the catalog, at least in ASCAP, and no telling how many collaborations that you've been on and had, can you recall all of them? I mean, if you're at the last, if you're at the last marketing, if you're at the last Moccasin Creek show, right, or the tour, and someone says, "Oh man, I really love this song from 2012. Could you please play that?"
No, and this is one of the things that really used to aggravate fans and would really tick them off. It's like, I got into music real late in my life, so I was never, it's funny. Like, I could throw on an EPMD rap song from 1992, or I could throw on some CCR or some Steve and sing every sing every word to the song. It's
right.
Something you listen to. When I do a song that has another artist on it, I can remember their verse like nothing.
Right.
So it was crazy. Like, when we would perform live, I had to rehearse so much to memorize my lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times I would have an iPad on stage that would have the first couple words to each line, and then I was good from there. So for instance, if we went out and we were doing a 15, 18 show run, we would have two particular set lists depending on what type of venue. If we were at a bike rally, we'd have a lot more of our rock stuff. If we were at an outdoor, a country set, we would have more of our country stuff and mixed in. And so we would have two set lists, and I would memorize all those words. And we'd always have people come up, "Hey, can you play such and such?" And I'd tell them, the band probably knows it, but I don't.
Right.
And they're like, "Well, how do you not know it? You wrote the song." I'm like, that's the thing. It's like, once I write a song, mix it, master it, and we do whatever with it, I'm borderline narcissistic, but I'm not narcissistic enough that I ride around listening to my own music. I move to the next song and start writing. So if it never made it into our live set, I never listened to it enough to remember the lyrics.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's one of my toughest things.
Yeah, it has to be tough because at the end of the day, you've got so many songs. And I know that, the fans, like Dixie Pride. Dixie Pride was the song that I first heard back in 2011. And if that song was not played at the concert, I'd be really disappointed. Yeah. I'd be really disappointed.
That's the thing. I mean, there's probably 12 to 15 mainstays in the set that would never change. I would always know those because we did them so many times. But, I mean, I've seen Hank Jr. mess up Country Boy Can't Survive.
Right.
I've seen Kid Rock mess up. It's because you do it so much that it becomes natural, and then you might be on autopilot so much during that show that I'm just blanked out. And they're like, "Oh, what's the next line?" It's like, and either the crowd singing it or somebody on stage will get me back on. But yeah, there's those 10 or 12 songs that never leave a set. It's like going and watching Skinner. If they don't play Sweet Home Alabama, they're going to burn the stage down.
Right. That's exactly right. Now, that's actually funny that you said that. They would if they did. But how do you choose those songs? Do you go based on YouTube views? I mean, you've got 81 million views on
86, Paul. Don't short me now.
86 million.
No, I think honestly, when I would write the set list out, it was very, very I was very meticulous about how it was put together, because I think about all the live shows that I've gone to of artists that I was like, I'd just rather listen to the CD, or man, he put on a great show.
Right.
And a lot of times a lot of the times those artists that put on those great shows that I wanted to go back, they didn't beat you to death with everything, everything their music. Like they would mix in a couple of popular covers and medleys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we would do The Creek Is on the Rise and go right into House of the Rising Sun, into Beatles Come Together, into Eminem's Lose Yourself.
Oh, right.
Without stopping. So it's like, so I would really take and put the set list together based on solely what I thought would sound cool and be a 90-minute in-your-face nonstop set. Like, we don't take breaks. We don't. There's no talking in between. There's a couple, hey, meet us at the merch table afterwards, thank y'all for coming out segments. But for the most part, I would figure up 90 minutes, and I would put all those songs into the set list to see what got us to 87 and a half minutes, because there wasn't going to be more than 2.5 minutes of talking during the show.
Right. I had you at the Redneck Yacht Club, and for those that missed it, the show was epic.
That was bonkers. That was a wild night.
Dude, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. One of the best shows that we had, by the way.
I had Craig Hand and I. Remember Craig Hand from Bush Hog? They opened up with us. Opened up for us tonight. Craig and I are good buddies. And I see him periodically throughout several times a year. We don't live too far apart, and we talk about that night all the time with the big light truss blowing over.
Oh man, Russell Duke
and pepper sprayed.
Right, Duke on stage, and you kind of saved my life in a way, because before I worked at the Redneck Yacht Club, I was basically I had $8 and a half a potato. I was living in an apartment, and I was literally just about to die because I just didn't have anything. And I heard Dixie Fried, and I went from Dixie Fried, and then I saw a video of you at the honey stand getting a bottle of honey, and it cracked me up so much. I mean, I laughed till I cried, because it was just so. I'll never forget the expression. It feels like a flock of bees in my stomach. And I thought, and I was up for the job at the Redneck Yacht Club, and I thought, after seeing those two videos, I figured, you know what? I know these people. I know what a mud park is, and, I know exactly what I need to do. And what I need to do is get Moccasin Creek here. And literally from day one, I walked in, once I finally got the job, and it was just lobbying all the time. I lobbied and lobbied and lobbied to get you guys out there. And, of course, it turned into a killer show and a huge crowd, too. Holy smokes.
No, it was great.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah, that was a great night. And that was well before we even had, a deep catalog and the 5-piece band. We were still using a track and all kind. It's like a place like that helped get us, so much. So we owe a lot to YouTube for getting us down there, because the fan base just really, because people don't understand how big the Redneck Yacht Club is. It's like it's gigantic.
Well, the club itself is 2 miles front to back and 1 mile side to side, and we started with 20,000 fans, and I grew it to 200,000. Which is pretty impressive at the time.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah,
nuts.
But the whole culture that you were helping create back then, and are still working in now, but back then the culture really was brand new in a sense. And it was a unique time in history, because everybody started to grow together. It was almost like there's such a camaraderie between that culture and everything else. And it leads me to a question, because did you ever think, okay, I'm going to try and go more mainstream and get that Nashville acceptance or anything like that, or did you think, you know what, I'm going to stay in my lane and just do what I do?
No, it's funny, man. I've been asked that a lot, and I've really thought about it, and no, I think if you go back and look at my catalog, kind of had the same blueprint for each. I generally had 12 songs on every album, and 4 of them were generally more just country rap, and then 4 of them were more hip-hop, 4 of them were more southern rock, and the other 4 would just be kind of whatever I want it to be. It might be pretty hip-hop, might be serious, it might, military tribute. So it was like, I just kind of stick to the pattern, and if something hits that they like, so be it. I'm not really going to change, and I've just kind of stuck with that. So I never really chased any of the mainstream. I never really tried to put my foot down and say this is exactly what I'm going to do, because and I think a lot of that's because you have to continually grow and evolve and do new things to not be stale. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some people in this genre that are extremely huge that have an extreme amount of wealth and have made a big thing, made a great living and doing big things that for 10 years straight you can put a song on and know it's them because it's the exact same sound with the exact same cadence with the exact same content every song. AC/DC did it for years and became one of the biggest rock bands ever, playing the same note and chord on every song.
Well, when I was working for you, when you hired the Nashville Hype, when I was operating it as a public relations firm for the Through My Eyes album, and
I forgot all about that album.
Yeah, and the leader of the pack. What you just said. You put 4 songs this way, 4 songs, or 3 songs, or 4 songs, and that song, Leader of the Pack, actually spoke to that.
Yeah, I think the hook said, the chorus said something about you can't mix Southern hip hop, Southern rock, country, rap, and rock, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I did. I did. Right.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that's what I do. I mean, that's where my roots were. I mean, I grew up in the Southern rock mecca of the world, and I grew up a hip-hop fan at the same time, and I literally didn't even get into any sort of country music till I was probably in my teens, other than your standard outlaw stuff that my family, grandparents, all your older Hank Jr. and Waylon and Merle and whatnot. I never jumped on the 90s Garth train or any,
Were you mostly just a fan of music and never really considered music? Because you said earlier that you didn't get started until you late.
Yeah. I didn't record my first song in a studio until I was 30.
Holy smokes!
So, yeah, I didn't know I was a fan of music until that took place. I think, anybody that's ever played a sport of any sort at the collegiate level will tell you that no matter where you're at and what you're doing, there's always music blasting. At practice, in the weight room, in the locker room, and it's it's basically whoever gets there first gets the playlist for the day. And, it's like, so if the offensive lineman got there first in the weight room, we were listening to some crazy heavy metal all day. If the linebackers and DBs got there, we were listening to the newest hip hop. If somebody else got in there, we were listening to. So it was like you were always just listening to music. And I always liked the storytelling aspect of music. Like I said, growing up a hip hop fan, and I really liked and grew up on the old, the Slick Ricks and the Dougie Fresh, the ones that told stories.
Yeah, we're playing basketball.
Basketball.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like I enjoyed the storytelling aspect of things, but there was something about a drop D guitar lick that I was like, man, that makes you just want to smack somebody. It's like, so I didn't know anything about music. I just knew that I liked the cleverness and the storytelling and the way things were put together. And it all really happened on a drunken karaoke night in St. Augustine. One night I was doing a Beastie Boys song, Fight for Your Right, and somebody was standing. There was a packed house, and somebody was standing in front of the teleprompter. I couldn't see the words, so I just started making up words, and they were all about hunting, fishing, stuff that I knew, and they just happened to rhyme. And a guy came up to me and asked me, have you ever heard of Colt Ford? And I'm like, nah, because Colt had just started. He wasn't even, I think the guy just had a demo, took me out and let me listen to it in his trunk. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I called a buddy of mine with a studio in Gainesville. I was like, hey, I'm coming over to record tomorrow. And he just kind of laughed. He's like, what are you talking about? You don't, because all my friends are in music. And, I was like, I'm gonna come over and do some country rap. And dude's like, what?
Okay.
Is that kind of how it started?
is that how Colt Ford is the founder of Average Joe's? Is that how you ended up with Average Joe's, or wanting to be on Average Joe's?
That was actually kind of a funny story too, man. You know, we've been in it for 4 or 5 years, but when all this stuff started happening, call me arrogant, call me whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and say anybody, I don't care if it's rock and roll, country, whatever, anybody that plays a mud bog for entertainment as a musician,
Mm-hmm.
they need to thank myself and Bottleneck, because here's the thing, when the mud bog craze started coming about, these people that had mud bogs had no idea that bringing music out could bring an extra 40 or 50 people. And you know as good as I know that you couldn't go to a mud bog 12 years ago without spending $45 to get in the gate.
That's right.
So we happen to have, Hogwaller Mud Bog, which is one of the oldest running sanctioned place that's in my hometown. We used to go out there all the time regardless. So once Jackie and I, Bottleneck, started doing the double wide stuff, we started taking our demos and putting them in the side by sides and riding around, and then we'd go out to St. Augie Bog and St. Augustine, then we'd go down to Port St. Lucie and go to Triple Canopy Ranch and all these other places, and we just started pushing it around, and we finally started talking these mud bogs into letting us come out and just perform for free. And we had Smoke come do a couple songs, and we did a couple songs. Next thing you know, you're hearing that music in mud bogs everywhere.
Everywhere.
So around 2011 or so, Shannon Hutchins at Average Joe's hit me up and he said, "Hey, how are y'all getting into these mud bogs? I want to get cold into some of these." And we told him, not knowing any better, we'd have known the music business, we'd have worked something out back then. But, it was kind of cool to watch the whole mud bog culture grow, and it's even funnier now that there's artists putting on all these big mud bog events and claiming that they originated it. I'm like, first off, you don't even know what a mud bog was.
Right.
It's like, chill out, bro.
Yeah, chill out. We grew this.
And it's neat now because, you'll see from Kid Rock to Stained to, or Aaron Lewis to Confederate Railroad. All these people are playing these mud parks, and I think it has a lot to do with these mud bogs, knowing that, hey, even if this band brings out just 50 people that aren't coming to ride, that's another 2,500 at the gate.
I'll tell you, my first gig.
Yeah,
my first gig at Redneck Yacht Club was 2011, and I had to convince the owner to bring in some entertainment because all they had was they had a stage built and they just had a DJ up there playing music, and I'm like, no, we need an artist, we need somebody. And at the time, Craig Campbell had a song on the radio called Fish, and it was like the number 5 song in the nation. And I was like, let's get Craig Campbell. And so we got Craig Campbell, and I tell you, it was so crazy because it was my very first event, and the park, quite frankly, was not successful in the sense that it wasn't turning anything. But we had 6 lanes of traffic out 4 miles. And a 17-hour wait to get into the park, and it was so bad that buses got stuck, like taking children home from school. They couldn't get their children home, and the community just absolutely went nuts. And that's when the owner said, "Okay, we need to have more entertainment." And I went, "You got to," and that and we had Confederate Railroad, and it was the same experience, and we had Moccasin Creek, and it was the same experience. Suddenly it became something.
Right, and I think, and that's cool, man. Watching that aspect of it grow. So to get to answering your question, how we linked up with Average Joe's, it was we were kind of blowing up and doing pretty much nothing but outdoor events in our heyday, in our prime around 14, 15, and obviously Daphne was booking all our shows, and she kind of became the mudball queen per se as far as people getting in there, and so we were trying to figure some ways to maybe get our music to different levels and different platforms, because we were still green as far as knowing all of the streams of revenue and how to get our music into different spots, this, that, and other. So we talked to Shannon, we talked to them, and it was kind of a deal where, hey, we'll do an album. And that's all we did was an album 1 year, and in return, Daphne took on a bunch of his artists that were trying to get out there at the time and started booking them.
Right.
So it was kind of like, it was a way for her to get more exposure and get more artists under her booking
Yeah,
And
I read the
at same
contract.
time-
She had sent over the contract to me because I was actually working for Moccasin Creek at the time, and she sent
Yeah, I
over
remember.
and I read the contract, and I sent back a note, and I was like, I would not personally do this. This is
Right.
probably not the best idea right now. But there is a tit for tat in the music industry, and you do have to kind of play along. And it did help
Right.
because I remember her bookings at 180 went from one or two artists to all of a sudden she could get anybody.
That was the big picture plan. I mean, not knocking the label, because
No.
I love all those guys there, and we still get along. But we knew kind of that, after a year, I mean, we did the same amount of sales, same amount of everything, but we also gained a ton of contacts. We learned the business, and in retrospect, it did blow our booking agency up. So that it all really did work out and help us.
In the long run, right? Yeah, and I was happy to see that because I was really concerned. I had another band signed with Sony, and I had told them, you probably don't want to do this. And they were blowing up too at the time, and I saw the contract, I read through it, I told them this is not the right thing. And what happened with that band in particular, they got shelved because Sony had another band just like them that they wanted to push, and that's the band that became the pushed band, and they just sat on the shelf. And that's how the music industry works. It just is what it is. But these guys that I was working with at the time that signed to Sony can always say for the rest of their lives, yeah, we were signed to Sony. Sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. I know that it worked out for you guys being with Average Joe's because obviously, even if the sales stayed the same and the music stayed the same, the bookings obviously just blew up.
Oh yeah. And like I said, it all worked. It worked out for the good. Got a good contacts came from it, and it is what it is.
Where do you go? Where are you going from here, Jeff? I mean, you've done everything for the last 11 years, I guess, and you've got the 412 songs you talked about, and the 13 albums, and just everything. Are you going to continue just going forward? Yeah.
I think that I made it no secret to those that followed and the fans and whatnot that have been there from day one. The road was just really getting to me mentally, and we're going through so much personally. It wasn't good for me. So I mean, it was like COVID was actually kind of a blessing for me, and I know it hurt so many other people. But they say health is wealth, and it gave me the opportunity to, for 2 years, really focus on myself and do those things. And as I've gotten back into music and seeing that things are still there, and we've still got people that are supporting it, and we're doing really well with dropping. I think we're going to continue to just drop. People have gotten away from buying albums. And I could put together an album easily, but at the same time, even if I go, somebody drops a new album, I'm going to listen to all the previews and I'm going to purchase the 3 or 4 songs I like.
Florida Georgia Line just broke up ostensibly.
Yeah.
They just parted ways, and part of the press release or the article that I read was, and they had a 10-year career basically, and they started with the song Cruise, and they had X a number of singles or whatever. You would think that they would have Garth Brooks level sales, as big a band as they were, and it turns out that they sold 5 million records.
Yeah, nobody sells records anymore, man.
No.
It's great. It's all streaming and whatnot, which is cool. I mean, you just got to keep, and that's what took us so long to figure out. Now that we figured it out, I can answer that question. It's like, once you're able to monetize your streams and learn how to get those things into a position where you can be paid, I'm super, super blessed. I'm very lucky that I haven't had to quote unquote kill myself working like we did the first 9 years of grinding it on the road, writing every day, putting things out. And I'm comfortable now, and I've finally come to the conclusion that, hey, I can really spend a month or two and write something great each time, instead of having quote unquote filler tracks to just put on an album to put things out.
The B-side.
So I can continue to shoot a video, drop a single, put it out. will I tour again at some? I don't know. I would love to do one final tour, but again, I would hate myself. I'd be extremely upset if we get everything booked and I get 12 under my belt, and all of a sudden, boom! All right, you're back into rehab again, dealing with these nerves and this inflammation. Physical rehab, not any other rehab. So yeah, I toy with that quite a bit. But as far as stopping music and not putting out music, I don't foresee that happening until I feel as if I'm a parody of myself, and I don't feel like I'm there yet.
Yeah. Does faith play any role in the music that you make or your personal life or anything of that nature?
Oh, absolutely. And I'd be lying if I tell you I didn't struggle with it. I didn't struggle with it several times, questioning things on a personal level for things that were going on with me and not knowing how to handle it and what to do. And I think that I've surrounded now with, I'll mention Hard Target quite a bit because, we met about 8 years ago, and started working. And now that we're together on this label and writing things together, and he's devout in his faith. My family's always been the same way. And I have been vocal about it for years. And I think it really, I wouldn't say it determines what and how I'm writing, but it helps me get into the mental space, clarity, comfortability, relieve stress by, praying and getting through those things to get me in that mindset, to calm me and do whatnot. But yeah, it plays a major part in my day to day. So I guess it does affect my music. I did a song with Benton Blunt, on my last album called Wayward. It's probably my favorite song that I've ever written.
Okay.
And it's pretty powerful. It's pretty strong. It's called Wayward. But not to sound hypocritical or be filled with hypocrisy. It's like we're talking about faith, and I've got a single dropping in 2 weeks called Drunk, Stoned, and Fishing.
Right. I saw that. Yeah, it's not, it's not really hypocritical. I mean, there's a great line in another song. Even Hank Williams saw the light. Because, he wrote one of the most famous gospel songs ever. I saw the light. I saw the light.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And, and we all know that he died in the back seat of his car drunk.
Right.
So, it's just one of those things. I mean, I think it's so funny because I ask all the guests something about faith anyway. And they have all said that there is a faith involved, and I think that's intuitive of the country music or the music industry as a whole.
Well, even if you go back to the hip hop era, which I love the most, I mean, some of DMX's biggest hits were his prayers.
Yeah,
he would open every show with a prayer. He would close every show with a prayer. Yeah, and he died of a crack overdose.
Yeah, he was a hero as far as that music that he released. Oh my goodness, yes, you're exactly right. His
songs, Damien, where he talked with the devil, and he was always very, very adamant about his faith. Very vocal about his faith, and also vocal about his addictions. I mean, it's so yeah, I think it plays a part in a lot of people's music.
Yeah. Let's talk about the video for "Take Me Home." Where did you shoot that? First of all,
we shot that at the Matanzas Inlet down in St. Augustine Crescent Beach area. My old stomping grounds. We literally used to go there, shoot almost every weekend in the summer, and just throw cast nets and catch finger mullet and catch mullet and go home and smoke mullet. And it's crazy. You can't even hardly catch any fish in there now with the boat traffic and the way the rivers. Well, the rivers changed quite a bit in there too with the last couple of hurricanes. But no, that was at my old stomping grounds, and we had a absolute. Well, actually, I say we had a blast shooting it. I had a miserable time. That was at the height of my nerve. I literally had to leave an hour and a half, 2 hours early.
Oh wow!
Was killing my back and stay. It was brutal, but It turned out great.
Yeah, that video is shot like that. I don't know who's doing your videos now, but it's funny. Earlier in the podcast, we were talking about how Last Letter sounds to you now compared to what you're able to do, and you look
at the video quality.
Oh my goodness, the video quality from I don't know who's doing that video for you, but man,
I got to give him a big shout out, Jeremy Spokes, but Bredwin DeVille is his performing name. He and Hard Target created the Trailer Made label that we're all pushing and rocking now. No contracts, none of that. Just a group, just a movement of people.
I was going to ask you about that.
Bredwin got into the video game probably. I mean, he's been in it for a long time, but about 4 years ago, he really started honing in on his craft, and man, he's just gotten better and better and better, and he shoots everything we do.
It's a Bredwin. Yeah, it's incredible. That video, I thought you were going to get a strike on YouTube because there's a scene in that video. You're all out in boats, and you got beautiful women with bikinis and everything else, and there's a scene in that video where someone pours liquor on the backside of a girl, and it gets licked off by another girl. And I thought, that's probably going to get a strike, but it didn't get a strike. What it got was 1.9 million views so far.
What we have found out is that if you can put anything that may be a strikeable offense about 52 seconds or longer into the video, you're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So your music, I mean, I listened to that song, obviously, and some of the other, and you've got the Stone Drunken Fishing video coming out. It's more, the songs are more alcohol related, it seems, nowadays.
Somebody made that comment yesterday, and I was like, I don't think that they really are. I think Hole in the Wall that Target and I did last year,
another great video. Yeah, that's a great video.
Those are people think that's not necessarily a drinking song. That's that's the way of life that I lived for a long time. I was looking for an excuse to go to the Hole in the Wall. I was looking for, a lot of it's reflective. Take Me Home. I don't think there's a liquor or drinking reference in the whole song. It's more about, it's just that day. But now the one that's coming up, yeah, it is. I think it's just too. I've been in a fun state of. I've been in a good place mentally, and we've been writing fun music, and we're not trying to be, don't want to be redundant. We've got a lot of other stuff coming out, but somebody just commented like that on Facebook yesterday, and I was like,
it's so funny because I didn't see the comment on Facebook, but I've been with you throughout your entire career, and we've known each other, though we don't talk very much, but we have known each other for a decade or more. And sure. I've seen it go from Dixie Fried and the biker songs, right? And the biker bars and things like that, and then I've seen it go to more serious stuff, and now it's like phase 4. You know what I mean? Like now it looks like, okay, I have worked my butt off to get to this point, and we are going to have fun. And so it's actually really good. It seems very healthy, is what I guess I'm saying.
It is. It's funny. Like my parents actually said, if you listen to your catalog and kind of like what you said, and go through it in eras, you can see when you were manic and not. It's like, so I mean, I've always told people I write on real life experience and what's going on at that time.
Right.
Like I don't try to reach out and find a clever saying or a clever quote and say, oh, we can capitalize on it. It's just like, this is what's going on. And when we wrote Hole in the Wall, that's when I was getting into shape. I was feeling good, and we were just having a conversation one day, and I was like, "Hey, you remember all them nights you just try to get into a fight on purpose just so you go to the Hole in the Wall and drink one?" It's like, "Oh, okay, let's write that song."
That's a clever video. If nobody has seen, or I know a million people have seen it, but if you're listening to the Nashville Hype and you haven't seen the video, it's a very clever, well shot video. Again.
Yeah, that was their idea. I had no clue what to do with that one, and the look through the wall and everything, that was really cool. And It's so funny at how many people don't get the double entendre, or the play on words there. It's like, it's like, listen to the lyrics. It's not just about a pretty girl shooting pool at the bar.
Right. And she's gorgeous, by the way. Holy, I thought, man, I need to look her up. I don't know.
Yeah, Kate, she's done some work with us, man. She's been in a couple of them. She was in the old white rapper video when I was in my phase where I was trying to prove to everybody that I can actually rap, and it's like, but yeah, that was a fun video to shoot. The one that comes out in 2 weeks, that was a very fun bit, and obviously take me home. I mean, we've just been trying to have fun.
You're on your way now to shoot a video. Which one? Yeah. What is this for, and where is it going to be shot?
It's funny. We're going back into the more serious, but this is probably the closest. Man, I'll send it to you as soon as we get off the phone.
Okay.
This is probably the closest mainstream song I've ever been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
There's a female on the hook, and her name is Corey Spires. She's up and coming. She's out of South Georgia, and she can put it down. She can sing. And the name of the song is Pickup. And most people are going to think, oh, here's another truck song. No, it's about I picked you up in my pickup, and now we've split up, so how do we pick up where we left off?
Oh, nice. I like it. I like the premise.
So, and Hard Target actually wrote the hook, and he called me one night. He's like, dude, I've been working with this girl. I got a song that is right up your alley. Tell the story. And I was like, send it over. And when I heard it, I was like, man, I'd love to be able to say I wrote this chorus. Like, this is a killer. And it is such a clever song. He's one of the best songwriters I've ever met in my life. Like, it just doesn't matter the genre, doesn't matter the sound. He's just got we've co-written so many hooks where, I've got an idea and I'll hum it along and say, and then he'll just change up a couple things, and it's like, oh man. Yeah,
bada bing, bada boom.
Obviously I can't sing, so I'm always like, yo, I need to get. But this, man, I think this will be a big one for us as well, man. I really do. It's just got that. It's got a real Sam Hunt back road type Florida Georgia line music like feel to it, as well as the very strong country chorus, and my delivery's kind of along the lines of Aldine and Colts. What was that? Back road. No, chilling on a back road, right? Yeah. It's delivered in a more of a talking fashion, and it just worked out, man. And we're headed over to shoot the video. We're going to shoot it tomorrow over in my hometown, and it's
being a serious song. It's not. You're not going to have all the bikini girls and all of that stuff.
No. It's actually a good storyline song. It'll just be her, myself, my girlfriend, and one of the dopest trucks you've ever seen in your life.
Is Breadwin? It's called. He's named Breadwin. He's going to be doing the shooting.
Absolutely, yeah. And Target will be there to help. We've written the storyline, and he's always good at catching different angles and shots that we can put together. And we're shooting it out at my buddy God's Country Outfitters, RT and Charles Harrington. They've got a gajillion acre ranch that they run, and they do guided hog hunts and gator hunts and all this that we all grew up together. And he said, man, I was looking for some space with a particular look, and he said, well, meet me at the gate, because I know they've got cornfields and sorghum and rivers and dirt roads lined with oak tree. Like, if we can't find the spot there, we're not going to find it.
You're not going to find it, right?
Yeah. I appreciate all your help, Paul, and everything you've done for us, man. And
I love you, buddy, man. I do. I love you. I love you to death. I think the world of you, and I always have. And I'm glad we got this time together to actually have a really good conversation. It made my day, actually. I mean, all day I'm going to be working on editing and getting this together for release. So,
cool.
I appreciate you, Jeff. I really do.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too, bud.